You're the eldest, Natalie. It's your duty to put family first. That sentence wasn't just pressure. It was the spark that lit everything on fire. This is the story of how I stopped being the obedient daughter and started fighting for what was mine. The familiar line, this time in front of dozens of people and not a request, but an ultimatum. The champagne in my glass barely rippled, but I felt the weight of every eye on me like a full-body bruise. I was standing beside a three-tier birthday cake with silver candles still unlit, in a rented backyard tent glittering with fairy lights. Ryan had just finished thanking everyone for coming, something about gratitude and family values. And then Mom seized the microphone. That's when the ambush began. She was wearing pale rose chiffon, the kind of soft that made people forget how sharp her words could be. Her smile gleamed. We're just so proud of Ryan, and grateful that our family's been blessed with resources to help him reach new milestones. Of course, none of this is possible without a little sacrifice. Right, Natalie? The laugh that followed sounded rehearsed, light enough to pass for a joke. But I knew that tone. I'd heard it when I was 25, in a hospital hallway after Dad's minor stroke. It's just a temporary document, she said back then. Sign it, sweetheart. And I did. I cleared my throat, adjusting the hem of my dress. I didn't realize I was giving a speech, I said, aiming for polite neutrality. You always were so modest, Mom cooed, stepping closer. But truly, Natalie's always been the responsible one. And now, as Ryan enters a new chapter, wouldn't it be wonderful if family showed up? Like they always have? A few heads turned toward me. Champagne glasses were lowered. I saw Aunt Melissa raise an eyebrow. Even Dad shifted behind the bar, pretending to fiddle with the wine corkscrew, like maybe if he didn't look at me, he wasn't part of this. Ryan looked up from his seat, grinning. Honestly, it's just an idea, he said with a shrug that wasn't casual. The market's brutal right now. A condo like yours, well, I'd never ask, unless everyone thought it made sense. My mouth was dry. Natalie's had that place for what, 8 years? Mom continued, her voice too bright. And it's appreciated well. Such a smart investment. We always said she had a good head on her shoulders. I blinked. My knuckles whitened around the glass stem. This was supposed to be a party. There were 30, maybe 40 people here. Colleagues, cousins, distant uncles, all in pastel clothes and polite shoes, watching as I was maneuvered into a corner wrapped in monogram napkins and passive aggression. I'll need to think about it, I said quietly, barely audible. I tried to smile, but it felt crooked on my face. The silence afterward didn't feel like relief. It felt like disappointment. Ryan offered a rehearsed chuckle. Of course, just planting seeds. But Mom wasn't done. I just hope, she said, tilting her head as if sincerely wounded, that being the eldest still means something. Because if the oldest sister doesn't sacrifice, who will? Mom and Dad are so disappointed. The air turned icy. The cake candles were still unlit. That's when I put the glass down on the nearest table. My heart wasn't racing. My hands weren't shaking. But I felt cold in places I didn't know could go numb. No one said a word as I turned toward the house. No one followed. The hardwood floor echoed under my heels as I walked through the hallway, past framed family portraits that hadn't included me since I was 20. I grabbed my coat from the guest room without asking and stepped out into the driveway. The air outside was warmer than inside. Fewer expectations, fewer microphones. I opened the car door, sank into the seat, and shut it behind me with a soft thud. As I inserted the key, my phone buzzed, screen lighting up with a single unread message. Not a call, not a text. An email. From Jasmine Tran, subject line, urgent, you need to see this. You still have that document? Natalie asked, her voice incredulous. Jasmine nodded, her eyes fixed on the screen. Scan the original. And the audio file of your mother saying, just say it's temporary. The cafe was tucked between a laundromat and a law office. Quiet, nondescript, the kind of place where secrets could breathe. Natalie sat across from Jasmine in a window booth, hands wrapped around a mug of lukewarm tea she hadn't touched. It was raining just enough to blur the outside world, but not enough to cancel any plans. Jasmine had always chosen her meeting places carefully. "I kept everything," Jasmine said, tapping the edge of her tablet. "Even the audio file from your mom. I didn't know if you'd ever ask, but I couldn't delete it." Natalie leaned forward. "The insurance will—" Jasmine opened a folder and spun the screen gently. "Here's your dad's homeowner's clause. 2013. The condo was purchased under a protection account tied to your name. He signed it over when you were working that contract job, remember?" Natalie blinked at the screen. "But Mom told me—" "That it was in the family's name. I know." The rain picked up a notch. Outside, cars hissed past. Inside, Natalie's memories twisted. 10 years ago, her father collapsed in the kitchen. Ambulance lights. A week later, Lynn placed a stack of papers on the kitchen table. "You're not working right now," her mother said then, voice soothing like a warm blanket over a trap. "This is just temporary. You'll still live there. But it's easier for us to manage paperwork." Natalie had signed. Jasmine interrupted the silence. "Shelley's coming by in 15. She wanted to confirm something in person." Natalie looked up. "Shelley Klein?" Jasmine nodded. "My mentor. She handles civil disputes. If anyone can make this stick without a courtroom brawl, it's her." Natalie ran a hand through her hair. "They think I don't know. They think I'm still as naive as before." Jasmine's voice softened. "You weren't naive. You were isolated. That's different." The bell above the door jingled and Shelley entered. Silver gray hair swept into a tight bun, trench coat still damp at the collar. She moved like someone who'd spent decades knowing when to walk away and when to press charges. "Natalie," she greeted warmly. "I'm sorry we're meeting under these circumstances." Natalie nodded, unsure how to respond. Shelley sat and pulled out a manila folder. "I reviewed everything Jasmine sent me. The original power of attorney expired 2 years ago. Legally, they can't do anything with the condo now, not without your explicit written consent." "They tried to reactivate it," Jasmine added. "Filed for an extension without your knowledge. It was rejected." Natalie's lips parted, but no words came out. "I brought something with me," Shelley continued, sliding a printed document across the table. "It's called a Notice of Dispute. Once signed and filed, it freezes all activity related to the property for 30 days. They can't sell it, refinance it, or claim it as part of their estate movement." Natalie stared at the paper. Her name was typed in all caps at the top. Her fingers hovered just above it. "Do you want to get everything back quietly or publicly?" Jasmine asked, voice low but firm. Natalie exhaled slowly. "I don't need to destroy them," she said at last. "I just need them to stop demanding anything from me." Shelley tapped the line where her signature would go. "Then this is where we start." The rain outside softened, tapping gently against the glass. Natalie took the pen. The tip touched the paper. She signed. "Natalie transfers the deposit for a small studio near the lake." She hasn't told anyone. The $450,000 apartment is still hers, but it's no longer a home. The email confirmation arrived at 7:42 a.m. Subject line, "Lease secured." She stared at it on her phone for a full 30 seconds before breathing again. A modest studio, south of Lady Bird Lake. No concierge, no marble lobby. Just enough room for one person and not a single memory attached. She didn't tell Jasmine. She didn't tell anyone. Her hand hovered over the light switch as she stood in the kitchen of her current place. Sleek counters, high ceilings, a framed diploma over the breakfast nook. She had once thought this apartment meant freedom. Now it was just evidence. A $450,000 chessboard where her family had moved pieces for years while she smiled and thanked them. Dad used to say, "Home is where someone's waiting for you to come back." She knew now. No one was waiting. Not really. She turned off the light. The next few hours were surgical. She pulled a banker's box from the closet, filling it only with what mattered. The deed Bank statements, old emails from Jasmine, her grandmother's letter. Everything else could burn. She closed her joint account with the family, opened one at a bank they didn't know, changed the passcode to her building, not just the digits, the entire Access app. Then she sat at her desk, opened her laptop, and uploaded the signed notice of dispute. It took under 5 minutes. She waited for the confirmation screen to load, heart a slow thud in her ears. A green checkmark appeared. Dispute filed. Review in progress. A soft chime broke the silence. Her phone. Incoming call. Dad. She let it ring once before answering. "Hey, sweetheart," came his voice, warm, practiced, a little worn. "I heard you filed something. A real estate dispute?" Natalie said nothing. "I just think this could be handled within the family," he continued. "No need to make a big deal out of it, son. What will outsiders think of our house?" Her grip on the phone didn't tighten. She simply inhaled. "I'm doing the right thing," she said, "whether anyone sees it or not." A long pause. Then he sighed. Not sad, just tired. "Well, you always were stubborn." He hung up first. Jasmine called an hour later. "It's done," she said. "Notary system confirmed it. Your condo's legally frozen, can't be sold, borrowed against, or refinanced without your signature." Natalie didn't respond right away. She was standing in the middle of her living room, empty walls humming with silence. It wasn't triumph she felt, just space. That night, while packing the last of her books, her phone buzzed. Ryan's story lit up the screen. A carousel of birthday photos. Smiling faces, raised glasses, golden balloons. The caption read, "Some people can't put family above property." Disappointing. Her eyes turned cold. She's suing her own family. Too much. A relative commented publicly under the article. Natalie skimmed through. No heart palpitations, no tears. She just opened the folder, evidence final. The article had no byline, just a dramatic headline. Eldest daughter freezes family asset in surprise legal move. It had been up for 4 hours, enough time for the whispers to mutate. Some comments were from strangers, others were from church acquaintances, and a few, the sharpest, came from blood. Underneath the post, Ryan had left a comment that didn't name her directly but landed like a blade. "Some people forget who raised them. Sad to see how cold the world's become." Aunt Meredith replied, "You've always been the kindest, Ryan. This must hurt." Natalie didn't flinch. She took a sip of her black coffee, leaned back in her chair, and clicked through to the family chat Monroe lineage thread. The last message from Cousin Blair read, "Could have just talked it out. Now look, lawyers, really?" Her phone buzzed again. Text from Mom. "Do you even care how stressed Ryan is?" "He's barely eating. You've made a mess. I told people you were just confused. Don't prove me wrong." Natalie's thumb hovered over the keyboard, but she didn't reply. Instead, she opened a note app, selected 6 months of messages, screenshots, audio clips, email threads, and forwarded the archive to Jasmine. 10 minutes later, Jasmine responded with a single line. "Got it. I'll organize the timeline. Don't engage." Natalie closed her eyes, letting the noise drain. Her memory flickered. She was 17, standing in the driveway next to Dad's shattered car window. Ryan had cried, insisted it was an accident. Lynn had pulled her aside. "You're older. Be patient. Take the blame. He's fragile." She had nodded, then swallowed the lie like a bitter vitamin. Now, she wasn't swallowing anything. A ping, Jasmine again. "You have enough to fight back, but if you release it, there's no going back." Natalie reread the message slowly. Her hand didn't tremble. She opened a separate tab, scrolled to an old audio file. Lynn's voice echoed. "She's like debt you can't pay off. Always needing more, always disappointing." Natalie didn't react. She simply said aloud to no one. "She called me a greedy debt, so let them know who has the eviction notice." She clicked compose on her email. 2. HR@MonroeRealtyGroup.com. Subject: Mortgage fraud pattern. Ryan Monroe attached were 6 files. A transcript of Ryan's birthday post, referencing the apartment as in transition. A notarized record showing Natalie as sole deed holder. A text thread where Ryan bragged about freeing up properties soon for financing. An audio clip of Lynn promising to get Natalie's signature somehow. Mortgage pre-approval documents Ryan had shared with a cousin, which listed the apartment's address. The official notice of dispute, filed and verified. She typed no explanation, no cover note, just signed it, N. Monroe. Then she hit send and closed the tab. Natalie Monroe releases audio clip that shows her mother forced her to sign away assets when she was 25. The title appeared on a local blog, then spread to Reddit. She hadn't planned on going viral, but then again, she hadn't planned on being erased either. Natalie stared at the paused frame on her laptop screen, the first second of her video. Her face wasn't visible, only a printed legal form, the date clearly stamped in the upper right corner. Below it, a signature. Hers. She remembered the exact pen she used. The bathroom floor she cried on afterward. Back then, she thought silence meant strength. Now she understood. Silence was just a lock. Truth was the key. Her studio was dim, quiet, save for the soft hum of her space heater and the occasional footsteps of her upstairs neighbor. The walls were bare except for one bulletin board pinned with yellow legal notes and a single post-it in Jasmine's handwriting. Let facts speak. Shelley had reviewed every frame before she uploaded. Don't narrate with emotion, she advised. Just present the facts. Trust people to see it. And so Natalie did. The 7-minute video began with a scanned copy of the original temporary document, the one Lynn had pressured her to sign when Natalie was jobless, grieving, and 25. Next, a voice recording. Lynn's tone sweet, coaxing. It's just a formality, honey. You'll still be the one living there. Cut to a timeline chart. Power of attorney active from 2013 to 2021. Then, the rejection slip from the county office dated February 2023, denying Lynn's request to extend it. Natalie's voice, low and even, came only once. This document expired. But my family tried to use it anyway. I didn't fight back then. I am now. The video closed with the condo deed, listing only one owner, her. By noon, the Reddit thread was already climbing. By 3 p.m., her inbox had over 60 messages. Some were cruel, others confused. But many simply said, I believe you. A teacher she didn't know commented, We talk about elder daughters like they're strong, but we don't ask what it cost. Someone claiming to be a notary posted anonymously, That signature is real, but POAs have time limits. If it expired in 2021, they have 0 standing now. Using it in 2024? That's fraud, plain and simple. Natalie didn't reply. She didn't need to. She was eating toast, plain, cold, but hers, when her phone buzzed. Text from Jasmine Monroe Bank just froze Ryan's mortgage account. The complaint worked. The lender flagged the address as disputed property. Natalie read the message twice. Then her screen lit up again. A different name. Text from Dad. What did you say online? You ruined this house. Natalie stands in front of the old apartment. No more fighting, no one inside. Just the keys. And the last sealed paper from the lawyer. The door made the same soft click it always had, though this time it echoed. The condo was empty, scrubbed clean, every picture hook removed, every drawer left ajar for proof. Sunlight filtered in through the west-facing windows, glinting off the hardwood floor like a spotlight. Natalie stepped in and closed the door gently behind her, carrying only a flat envelope and her car keys. She had first arrived here with a single rolling suitcase and a folder of bills she couldn't afford to look at. That day, her mother had kissed her on the forehead and said, It's just temporary. It's not really yours. Natalie had smiled back, too tired to ask what she meant. Now, the air felt different. She moved through the rooms one last time, her fingers trailing over the edges of walls she had once painted herself. The studio desk was gone. So was the armchair where she'd stayed up grading papers and the small bookshelf with hand-marked copies of SAT guides she'd annotated over years. The space looked like a stage, set for a new story she no longer belonged to. Her phone buzzed. Jasmine, all clear. The court processed your renouncement. You're legally untied. Check your mailbox. Shelley sent the certified version. Natalie slipped the phone into her pocket and walked to the small utility closet. A manila envelope sat propped against the wall, her last paper from Shelley Klein's office. The stamped final copy. She opened it, thumbed through the sheets. One was addressed to the Austin Housing Authority. Notification of change in household registration. Another to her financial institution, updating her permanent mailing address. The third, a notarized statement. I, Natalie Monroe, relinquish any shared financial responsibility or asset agreements tied to Lynn or Douglas Monroe effective immediately. It was dated, signed, filed. As she read it, she didn't feel light or free. Not exactly, but she felt still. And that was enough. Back at the kitchen counter, a small square package waited. No return address, just a tracking label from the local post office. She frowned, tearing the edge carefully. Inside was a notebook. Cheap, spiral-bound, frayed at the corners. Her heart paused. It was her mother's handwriting. On the first page, Natalie, you used to be the person I was most proud of. No date, no explanation. Just those words in blue ink. She smiled faintly. Not with sadness. Not with rage. Just with distance. Once, she said softly, then closed the cover. Outside, the air was dry and quiet. She walked down the steps, turned once, and looked up at the building. No part of her wanted to stay, but she didn't need to burn it down to know she'd outgrown it. Later that evening, in her new apartment, smaller, humbler, hers, Natalie opened LinkedIn. She wrote slowly, starting a new phase. I won't be the caretaker of stories that weren't mine to begin with. She clicked post, then closed her laptop and turned out the light. The message came in at 6:41 a.m. Just one conversation, if you have time. No name, but I didn't need one. I stared at the text as steam rose from my coffee mug, curling quietly into the cool morning air. The apartment was still, walls bare, corners echoing, but I didn't mind the emptiness. Emptiness was honest. It didn't try to sweeten the truth. I didn't reply. 2 days passed. Then I sent an email. No greeting, no warmth, just this. Saturday, 10 a.m., Elmside Café. 15 minutes. He showed up 5 minutes late. Same worn coat, same hollow eyes. Douglas Monroe. My father. Or the man who'd once been the quiet presence behind every decision my mother made. Still married, still silent, still good at disappearing when it mattered. He slid into the seat across from me like a man walking into a courtroom. Nervous, unprepared. I didn't stand. I didn't smile. I had my own coffee in front of me, already paid for. He cleared his throat. You look tired. I took a slow sip. You have 12 minutes left. He fumbled for words. I didn't think it would go this far. All the press, the video, I cut in, voice flat. It didn't go anywhere by accident. He leaned in slightly. Your mother's not doing well. Ryan's been... Let's stop there. I set the cup down gently. This isn't about how they're coping. This is about how they treated me for the last decade, and how you let them. He shifted in his seat. Natalie, I didn't mean to... You didn't mean to what? I asked, still calm. Didn't mean to stay quiet when Mom handed me papers I didn't understand. Didn't mean to nod when she called me a burden. Didn't mean to pretend you didn't hear her say I owed the family for existing. He looked at the table. When I was 17, Ryan smashed the car window and Mom made me take the blame because older sisters should be patient. You remember that? He didn't respond. I do, I said. I remember crying in the laundry room and you passed by, patted my shoulder and said nothing. Like pain was a language I should have learned to swallow. He exhaled, shaky, still not meeting my eyes. I'm not angry, I said. I just see it now. That silence wasn't love. It was complicity. A server passed by and I waved her off. My father blinked like he wanted to speak again, but the words were trapped. Always had been. I'm not here to argue, I told him. I'm here to tell you that you're no longer part of my story. Not because I hate you, but because I've finally written the rest without you. He opened his mouth, then closed it. I stood, pulled a 20 from my wallet, and dropped it on the table, even though I'd already paid. Old habits. I adjusted my coat, not out of cold, but out of habit. You could have said something, I added, softer now. Just once. I turned to leave, then paused. Family isn't where people are forced to break themselves to stay. It's where they're safe enough to stay whole. I didn't wait for his response. Back at my apartment, I pulled out a box from the top shelf of my closet. Inside, wrapped in the original packaging, was the silk handkerchief I'd had monogrammed for my mother 3 years ago, the one she never opened. The one she left in a drawer, buried under expired coupons. I didn't feel bitterness when I saw it now. I felt clarity. I placed it gently into a new envelope. No return address, no card. Just a single line in the note. This once belonged to you. Now I'm giving it back. The post office was quiet that afternoon. I didn't rush. I paid in cash. When the clerk asked for the sender's name, I said, "Leave it blank." That evening, I sat at my desk, pulled out a fresh legal pad, and flipped through the notes for my scholarship fund. I'd received 6 applications this week. Young women mostly, with stories that echoed mine in subtle ways. The language of being too responsible, too quiet, too tired of carrying everyone else's expectations. I added a new grant under the fund's umbrella. The Eldest grant for women told their silence was noble, their obedience a duty, for those who broke that silence anyway. I didn't need applause. I just needed it to exist. Right before bed, I checked my mailbox. A small brown parcel was tucked in the corner, return address scrawled in shaky handwriting. Inside was a notebook, spiral-bound. Familiar. It smelled like lemon balm and something older. Dust, maybe. Memory. The handwriting was hers, Natalie. You used to be the person I was most proud of. No date, no signature, no apology. Just that sentence on the first page. I read it twice. Then closed the cover and set it gently on the shelf beside my window. I didn't throw it out. But I didn't hold it close either. Once, I murmured, and turned out the light. Later that week, I posted something on LinkedIn. Nothing dramatic, just truth. Starting a new phase, I won't be the caretaker of stories that weren't mine to begin with. No hashtags, no photos, no viral campaign. Just the final sentence of a chapter I no longer needed to explain. I walked to the balcony. The sky was overcast but soft, and the streets below glowed with early lights. I sipped chamomile tea from a chipped mug I'd picked up at a thrift store. Not expensive, not matching anything, but mine. There was no message from Mom, no text from Ryan, no sudden apology from the universe. But for the first time in years, I didn't check the door behind me. I didn't need to make sure it was locked, because I wasn't afraid of what might come in. And I didn't need to close it again. I'd already walked through it, and I wasn't going back. The silence that once buried her voice became the ground from which she rebuilt everything. What was meant to erase her only made her clearer, louder, and legally untouchable. When injustice meets quiet resolve, even the loudest lies begin to crack. Like a locked door finally opened, her story proves that truth doesn't shout. It simply endures. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps bring more voices like hers to light.